Behind me is an HPI Savage from my RC collection that I built up many years ago. Actually, out of spare parts and a few key options, and I had a great time driving the truck, but it looked so cool, I threw it up on the shelf. And since then, I've always had the urge to take it out and drive it, but just didn't want to ruin it. And luckily, HPI has been reworking all of their cars, and the Savage X is included in that rework. They've made a lot of changes to this truck in comparison to my old truck, and I really can't wait to drive this thing. But first, I'm gonna show you all the details about this truck, what they did to it, and of course we're gonna go drive it later. So let's head over to the bench and take a closer look at this new monster. So this beast is an A-scale 4-wheel drive electric monster truck, and they actually have a nitro version of it as well, which really has my interest, but we're gonna check out all the details of this electric monster today, and we're gonna start off with this body. So this kind of looks like that Rivian electric truck, the real truck, and it's got a square look to it and really wild graphics on here, which is really drawing me in. Now on the outside, it's kind of got this matte finish to it with some gloss popping through here and there, but I really like the graffiti art that's on the back of it. And I don't know, it's kind of got a blunt face to it and everything like that, very square. So I'm not sure if I'm in love with it or not. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. But I do like some of the details on here. We've got a molded grille up front. We've got some molded vents, molded roll bar out back, even some side mirrors and stuff. The headlight decals, pretty futuristic. Definitely love the Savage X graphics and stuff like that. Let me pop the body off so you can see underneath. Now here's one thing I wish that they did do is kind of integrate that roll cage and stuff into more of a bracing system that maybe attaches to this roll bar here or something like that, just to kind of help protect the body when you're, flipping this thing upside down and cartwheeling and stuff like that, just to kind of prevent everything from possibly getting damaged. But overall, decent looking body, and who knows what they'll do in the future. Check out all the body clips holding everything in. That's a lot of body clips there. They have A-scale body clips to secure the body. Now let's take a look at the chassis here. And it's got your twin vertical plate chassis, pretty much a signature for HPI vehicles. I love it. There's some people that say it's a little bit old, maybe it needs to be revised. However, I think it's really cool. I think it just really defines HPI, and they've made revisions to these plates, so a lot of the parts, key into it better, and new side pods and stuff. We'll get into that, but first up, let's start off at the front bumper here. Kind of looks similar to the old bumper as far as the skid goes. The top piece of the bumper is a little bit more bulky looking and a little bit more aggressive. They have some plates on the back to kind of help retain the top pins, which are actually captured now too. But the lower pins, they're kind of just still stuck in these channels. And I kind of wish that they had a set screw or something to kind of secure that pin more in case the skid moves or something like that. But to be honest, I really didn't have too many problems with it on my older Savages, but it's just kind of one of those things that always stuck out to me. The arms are pretty much similar. I think they made a few revisions as far as like there's a sway bar hole and maybe a little extra bracing around the pin area and stuff like that, but pretty much the same webbing style. And I don't remember actually breaking any of those either. Same caster blocks that we've seen before, and steering knuckles, those work pretty well. And let's move on to the center bulkhead gear case here. A lot of webbing on that. That's nice to see. We've got aluminum brace plates throughout, so the lower pins, the upper pins have these braces, so if the arm or front suspension takes a hit, it doesn't pull the arm through the plastic. So that always seemed to work out well. These shock towers on here, these are the newer shock towers, just a lot deeper webbing to them. And obviously we got a couple of mounting positions for the shocks. Body mount is adjustable up top. And we could start talking about the rest of the suspension now, like these large bore, long travel shocks. These things are huge. They are composite though, and with a big, huge shock like this, with all the leverage on there, kind of wish at least had aluminum caps on top. These are composite caps, and my older HPI right there, that's got all aluminum shocks on it, and I really love those shocks. It would have been pretty cool to see those here. I'm guessing they're going to be an option though, and so you might want to look out for that if you're really rough on your equipment. So the suspension travel on here, really long travel. Hopefully you can see it's got a lot of pack to it. So when you come off a big jump, it's not just gonna slap the chassis. It's got a lot of pack in here to help absorb those landings. So the suspension in the rear of this truck is pretty much the same. Let me turn this thing around so you can see it. I mean, even down to the bumper, all the bracing and stuff, even the steering knuckles, they use a tie rod out back. So just like the front, you know, you've got a steering tie rod. This one is just a bracing tie rod so the rear wheel doesn't turn. And I have the rear hub conversion on mine. It is an aluminum piece, but I really like how it just minimizes the amount of parts, and kind of wish that they put that on here as well. But you know, it should hopefully work out. That tie rod there maybe could have been bulked up a little bit more for, you know, this size of a truck. It's an A-scale truck. It's gonna have 6S power behind it with this 2200 kV motor we're gonna talk about. So, you know, it's gonna take some hits. Hopefully everything holds up. So as I just mentioned, you know, we've got these adjustable tie rods up front for the steering. That is a pretty heavy duty rod end on there though, so that is pretty cool, but this might have been better if it was a little bit thicker. Now, inboard here, we've got twin bell crank steering, servo saver on there. Kind of looks like a silver spring. I'm wondering if that is the hard spring, because my truck back there, which I keep referencing, has a black spring on it, I think. So you can adjust it. It does have an adjuster nut on there, kind of your same setup that we've seen before. All right, let's move on to this chassis. Now, this chassis has some etched graphics on it, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, it's a little bit hidden. You can see the X logo up front and some of the HPI hexes in the rear, which is really cool. Unfortunately, it's just kind of hidden by this new cover, which I don't know. I really like it, to be honest with you. It helps hide the batteries. To access the batteries, you just flip this little lever here, and then you pull down on this cover, and underneath is this battery box with a Velcro strap. And I really like this system better. On the older one, we had these rubber tabs that kind of pull down and over, and those would pop off. So this system is much better. This Velcro is gonna hold all different size batteries and keep them secure in there. And this is just some extra protection and some extra styling. This snaps into place, so I really like this system better. There's our roll hoop up top. These chassis plates are 3mm aluminum. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I just told you now. And I like how everything is tucked inside now. On my other truck, the motor kind of hangs off to one side, but we've got everything nicely laid out down the center. Here is our radio box up front, and our servo can actually be seen from inside the radio box as well. Speed controller right behind that, and it's secured in place not only by this top cover, but there's an additional cover plate that secures the speed controller as well. So I like that setup. Let's move over here to the drivetrain now. The center transmission on here is filled up with all metal gears to drive the front and rear of this truck. We've got a heavy duty slipper assembly on here. Check out those massive aluminum slipper plates. And it looks like it has some sort of Kevlar type of slipper pads, which looks really cool. Steel gear for the spur gear, steel pinion gear, of course. And I actually just want to take a quick second here to say, my pinion gear needed another half tightening turn on the set screw. Aussie RC Playground reached out to me and said just keep a heads up for that, and I went and checked it, and yes, mine needed another half a turn. So props to him for reaching out, helped me out there, and definitely check out his channel. He's got a lot of great reviews, including one on this truck. But let's talk about the rest of the drivetrain now. We've got steel dog bones going out from the transmission to the front and rear gear differentials. Really heavy duty looking ring and pinion gear used in the differentials. Lots of grease in there. We've got cast metal diff cups, metal gears inside the differentials, steel outdrives, of course, steel axles, steel dog bones. So no universals up front. That would have been nice to see as well, but the dog bones do hold up pretty well. I just kind of thinking back to the old days of driving a Savage, I think I've only bent one or two of those. But let's see what else we have to talk about in the drivetrain. The motor mount, might as well talk about that and get into the electronics. We've got this 8mm thick clamping motor mount system, again inboard, which I really like, and it is adjustable, so you could go and move this for installing a bigger pinion gear, because like I mentioned earlier, this thing is capable of going 60 miles an hour. You need to use a 20-tooth pinion to do that, and some optional tires. So just kind of be aware of that. We'll see how fast it goes out of the box when we go to test it, but to reach that top speed, you're gonna have to do some mods. The motor in here is a 2200 kV motor, kind of looks like your Hobby Wing based system here, rebadged to the Flux branding, which, the Flux branding is always cool, stands out, but at least You know, underneath the casing, we know it's a Hobbywing system. It's programmable. You could program your punch and your brake. Here's your set button for that. It is a waterproof system as well. 150 amp speed controller under the box here. And then for steering, we have, I think it was the SS40. It had almost 400 inches of torque. It's a 10 kg servo, Metal Gear, high torque, so it's gonna be able to move these tires pretty well. I hope we'll see how it is when I finally power this thing up. And then we'll talk about the radio system in a minute, but really good looking truck. Let me show you the bottom of this really quick because we got some new skids on here. So, you know, here is the front and rear skid that we're used to seeing, and now they have this center protection skid that prevents any dirt and stuff getting inside. There's your hinges for your battery door and even protected on the bottom. I like the detailing that they even put into the bottom of the skids there. So overall, really good looking truck, and I'm really excited to drive it. But first, let me show you what it does come with in the box as well. So we've got the TF41 radio system. This is actually a nice radio, and ever since this came out, I've really said good things about this radio. It has your basic trim functions on there, but a really good feel to it, and you know, the signal strength is really good on the radio as well. You get some decals in the box, a grill decal for some reason. I don't know why. There's a molded grill on there, even the vents, but at least you get some extra Savage decals, some HPI decals. Here's your instruction manual. Definitely read through that. They break down everything in this, some additional info sheets from HPI Racing as well. And then we've got some battery foam, some battery strips to kind of help firm up any extra space in there. You don't want that battery wobbling around on the inside. Extra body mount for optional bodies, some basic composite tools, and this composite 17mm hex wrench actually works. I forgot to mention the wheels. We got to go back and talk about the wheels, but just let me show you the rest of this here. We've got some spacers or preload spacers for your springs, and some servo horns, and these extra shock perches and shock ends. So one, I'm happy that they include these because sometimes they pop off or there's strips out, but two, I hope it doesn't happen. I hope everything holds up well. All right, now back to the wheels and tires because I missed that before, and how could I miss it? These things are really cool. We've got the Terra Hex tires on here. It's got a medium insert in there. I like the hex design. That's the HPI hex design throughout that tire there. Then we have these Wild Havoc wheels, kind of the spoke style. A lot of plastic material around the center boss where the 17mm hex is. So hopefully that will never strip out. Do like the dual color on the hex setup, and I love the coloring throughout the truck as well. Like the gray, the orange, the black, it just really says HPI. And HPI, again, they really have their signature look to them all the way down to the vertical plate chassis. Love the look of this truck. Now we just have to see if I love how it drives. So let's head outside and have some fun with it. All right, guys, time for a little talk and drive with the Savage. I'm actually going to take it easy on the truck because I broke it. I'll tell you guys what I broke at the end, but it's still drivable. Just want to take it easy on the truck. Right now, I've got 6S in here, and this thing is an absolute monster on 6S. I won't even be able to get up to full speed. That was probably a third of the throttle. It really needs a wheelie bar. I probably should have mentioned that before, but I am having a blast with this truck. I really miss driving a Savage. This one handles so well. I've been mostly running it on 4S. All the close-up action that I did, that was on 4S, and the truck is really drivable on 4S. But let me see, what could I tell you? Wheelies on both 6 and 4S, obviously. It still needs that wheelie bar. I already mentioned that. The steering servo, when you're pretty much just sitting still, it doesn't turn the wheels whatsoever. Once you start getting going, the momentum allows it to turn, and it turns fairly decent. You got to use the brakes to get this thing whipped around. Look at that. If you touch the throttle a little too much on 6S, it's just crazy. Look at you rip on it. Yeah, look at it. It's just throwing dirt. Oh, front flip. I got to get it. Hold up. All right, so I decided to risk it. I'm over here at the jumps, because I got to show you guys how this thing jumps. I'm going to just take it really easy first. Get a quick feel for it. We'll start ramping up with it. But it's really plush. The shocks are set up really well. All right, let's roll it here. Nice. Oh, so smooth. Now, I mean, that was like no throttle either, no correction. This thing just floats. Look at that. All right, here we go. Another one, nice and smooth jump here. Yeah, did you see that? It's like the suspension barely compressed. Nice. I know if I backflip, it'll probably break. Let's see here. Nice and smooth, nice and smooth. A little correction pulled out of that jump. Yeah, all right. Now that I'm comfortable, we'll try to backflip it here. All right, let's go. Nice smooth over this. And squirt. Whoa. Oh. Over-rotated it. All right, we're still good. Body's just a little more scarred up than before. Let me try for one backflip and we'll land it. Over this jump, nice and smooth. Full control. Oh, I tried to correct it, over-corrected it. There's a durability test for you. That thing landed on concrete or on asphalt. All right, here we go. Nice. I knew I could get it. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up before I do anything else to this truck. I wanted to go out and speed test it too. So maybe that's where we'll go next. We'll go speed test it. All right, drivers, time to see if we get a top speed out of this truck. I've got some freshly charged 6S packs in here. I'm back to my Dynamite speed meter because my GNSS from Sky Hobby broke only after 4 uses. So hopefully I got this program right. I got some Velcro in there. Just stick that down. Double check my road here. All right, we're gonna send this thing. We're gonna have to ramp up the throttle, I'm pretty sure. Send it down. Nice and easy. Double check my road again. Sorry for the swaying around, but just want to be safe. All right, one more check. All right, now we're gonna rip on it. Here we go, rolling in, rolling in. Wow. Oh, that was rough. All right, so we managed to get 47 miles an hour out of it before it blew over, and man, did it skid on the roof. Check out this bar on the back. It's all shredded up. I'm gonna go for one more run, see if we get a little bit more speed out of it. It's tough to handle at that speed when those tires get big and the front just wants to go over. So double check the road here. All right, here we go, we're rolling into it. All right, no damage, no more damage to the truck. Oh, we got 53 that time, so that's not too bad. That's only 7 miles an hour off of the advertised speed on the box. That's a pretty good speed. You can always spot an RC car that's been run in the fall when you see a ton of leaves packed into the chassis. I picked some really cold days to go and test this truck. It was 35 one day, 37 another, 45, but this thing held up in the cold weather, and I really forgot how much fun a Savage is to drive. I had an absolute blast with this thing at the BMX track. I ran it in a dirt parking lot, big grass field for some extra testing. And man, it's just so much fun. I love the way this truck looks out there. The body is a little boxy, but the bright orange really makes this thing stand out. I love how the Savage kind of just squats when you're under throttle. It just looks mean and aggressive. And overall, this thing was just too much fun. I'm really happy to see that the Savage is back, and you know, the revisions that they made I think were key. This truck just handles really good. Over at the BMX track, I was just floating over those big jumps, landing nice and plush. It was just so cool to watch this thing land like it was effortless. And it's got some tricks behind it too. It could do front flips, it could do back flips. I was a little leery of doing that on camera because typically I hold the camera with one hand and drive with the other. But you know, off camera, I was able to pull some back flips off, some front flips, and this thing it just looks cool when you're doing it. Again, the suspension on here, super plush. The steering on here could be improved as far as the steering servo goes. You know, when you got some momentum behind the truck, it definitely turns well. Off power, when you got some traction, it turns fairly well. When you're on power, you know, that's when the inertia of the front wheels really kind of wreaks havoc on that servo. So I could certainly see a servo upgrade in the future. You know, we're kind of used to this with ready-to-runs where the electronics, they work, but we kind of grow out of them, and that's when we want to upgrade in the future, and that's the case here. I already want a servo with more torque in this truck just so I have that steering command on tap whenever I need it. The truck is pretty durable. I've got some things to talk to you guys about. First up, I want to talk about what I broke. I mentioned that before while running it. I broke a upper rear arm in the back, but there's actually two bosses where the pin goes through, inboard where the bulkhead is, and I only broke one of those. And I've actually been running the truck still with that one broken mounting or one broken pin boss on the upper arm, and I haven't finished it off yet. So it's still holding up. I landed upside down backwards, and that's when it broke. So the rear is kind of a little offset right now. It was causing a little bit of havoc when I was out speed testing it. The other thing is when I landed on the back of this thing, it obviously punctured the shock screws through the rear of the body, and it bent the upper shock screws in the rear. And I remember that being an issue with the older Savages. I bent a lot of shock screws, and I really think it's time for them to upgrade that. It's an M3 screw. It's just too small of a screw to be in that position. But I am happy to report that the shock didn't break. It is a composite shock, and people were saying the caps are gonna break off, and all those hits in the rear, no problems with that. The other thing is the roll bar in the center. I landed on the roof a couple times, and it's kind of starting to puncture through the roof of the body. And as I mentioned earlier, it'd just be cool if they had some sort of inner skeleton to kind of integrate into that roll bar to kind of sturdy everything up, and then there wouldn't be any body damage. And it also bent the screws that hold that roll bar when I was landing on the roof. Again, I was really testing this thing out for you guys, so I would kind of like to see that revision at some point, in the next Savage, whenever that comes out. That would be a nice change up. And then the other thing is the bumper supports. They kind of spread out and make the bumper look all wonky and stuff. The body kind of flips over the front bumper. But other than that, it's a fun truck to drive. I'm not bothered that it doesn't have a center differential. It's a tall twin vertical plate monster truck, and I've got that in mind when I'm driving it, and I like the way it handles. I like to use my skill to throttle the truck when I'm going over jumps and stuff like that. So I'm not too bothered that it doesn't have a center diff. Onto the speed of this thing, it is fast. On the box, it says it goes 60 miles an hour. With a small asterisk that says that you need, a different pinion gear, different tires, but I went out and drove it anyway to find a top speed on 6S with it, and I showed you guys that I got up to like 53 or something, and after I shut the camera off and I went and did one more speed run, shot the video vertically so I could post it on TikTok and Instagram, and I was able to hit 55 miles an hour with it. So out of the box, You could get up to 55 miles an hour with this thing on 6S, and you know, like they say on the box, you make a few changes, this thing will go 60, and for a big monster truck like this, that's plenty fast. You're moving with this thing, and it is a true blast. I'm really excited to see that the Savage X is back. It is a awesome truck. I think it's awesome that they made some great changes to it. I really like the battery box system on here. The electronics, they did work well. Definitely the speed controller and motor are on point. I don't think you need to change that out. Just might want to swap out that servo. The radio system, that's even good as well. I do like their TF41 radio system. I don't think I'll ever change it in this truck. And let me know what you think about this truck. Are you excited to see HPI back? This is not the first release that we reviewed from them. Definitely check out our videos for other HPI reviews. I'm just so stoked about this truck. I love the Savage, so cool. All right, guys, if you haven't done so yet, please click that subscribe button and the notifications bell. Throw the video a like, and we'll see you back soon for some more RC Driver videos.